There's always that one character that, like, everybody hates. So I'm a really big fan of Transformers, as most of my friends know. One of my favorite characters is this yellow guy named Bumblebee. I watched G1, that was the first Transformers cartoon I ever watched, and I was really just gushing because he's this little itty bitty guy, and he was so cute. And I was browsing the TFW forum. It's a hot mess of fan brats. I discovered via TFW that actually, contrary to my belief, a lot of people really don't like Bumblebee. And I was super surprised because he just kind of seemed like the character that everybody would like to me. I learned a lot about tropes and stuff from watching Transformers and getting onto the blogs and reading the boards and stuff, and people mention things, and then I started going on tvtropes.org and I read about kid appeal characters, and it turns out that they're really susceptible to something called the peripheral hate dump. That's basically when the part of the fandom that the character isn't directed toward hates that character just cuz. It's like the producers know that Bumblebee's gonna be a hit with the kids, so they put Bumblebee in so that the kids would like him, but then all the adults that like Transformers hate Bumblebee, probably because it might have something to do with the fact that he's aimed at the kid. You know, that's actually not really Bumblebee's fault, but who cares? Haters gonna hate. There's a lot of different reasons that people hate Bumblebee. One of the most common is that there are so many toys. I was just thinking about it one day and I wanted to kind of propose this argument because a lot of people always talk about how Bumblebee is overrated. Throughout the history of Transformers, there have definitely been characters that have had their spotlight, and characters that have come and gone, and characters that people who aren't fans associate more with the fandom. Bumblebee's probably one of the most iconic characters. Some people say that he's in tier 1 up there with Optimus and Megatron. There could be a lot of things that led to, you know, this extreme popularity. He was never really so big until the movies in 2007, and that's when he lost his voice, which is interesting because so many people hate that he can't talk, including me. I guess it was just some kind of character quirk that a lot of people maybe identified with or something. The more popular the character is, the wider the peripheral hate dump. I feel like people forget to analyze it when they're blindsided by their hatred for him having a bunch of toys, being liked so well. If you're the kind of person that's a nonconformist and doesn't want to like what everybody else likes. I understand that because I do it a lot too, but if you actually look at it in terms of fiction and analyze it, Bumblebee actually represents a lot. Even if you don't like him, you have to kind of appreciate how much he's evolved since he was introduced in the 80s. Before 2007, he was, you know, the little guy. He was the sidekick and the ones that the kids would look up to as a hero, the one that was the friend with the human. And I can understand why you wouldn't really like that character. I usually don't like that kind of character. Not really his personality or the foundation of his personality, it's actually that how much his character has evolved and how it sets him apart from other kid appeal characters. He's not the typical Scrappy-Doo or Slimer kid appeal characters that you would attribute to a lot of other cartoons. Those characters really haven't changed so much over the years and have so much to them, so much history. Even if Bumblebee does clog the shelves all the time, and even if you're really tired of seeing his toys, and I can understand because, you know, I go to a few Walmarts myself, people often forget that the industry's marketing strategy, it really isn't the fault of the character. I know that a lot of people have a problem with this character. I know that in animated he was annoying, and I know that in Prime he really doesn't have much of a personality, but I just urge a lot of the viewers out there to stop really thinking about all the things you don't like about him that pertain to toys or writing, and actually just think about what he represents as a fictional character in history. He was one of the trailbreakers in G1 for cartoons based off of toy lines, and Saturday morning cartoons in general, and Transformers boomed back then. I can always see that Bumblebee represents fictional evolution in general, how when things last so long and so meaningfully, like Transformers continuing on thriving for 30 years with such a faithful fan base, it shows how things change and how characters evolve and what marketing can do to change the representation of that character. Even if you don't like the standard little guy, the underdog, the one that wants to prove himself, you have to at least appreciate that he conveys a pretty important message to kids, that hard work and compassion and friendliness pay off, because in the end, Bumblebee comes out on top, and he's done a lot of pretty cool things in the history of Transformers. If I were a mom and I knew that my kid was watching a show about lasers and war and, you know, alien invasions and everything, I would at least take comfort in knowing that he was taking example from a kid appeal character like Bumblebee that has such a nice example and such a nice personality. I know that a lot of people who really love Bumblebee, they love him because, you know, he's cute. He is cute. Because of all the hate he gets, because he clogs the shelves, or because he's so dang popular, actually makes him underrated instead of overrated. What? yeah, evolutions, his history, his personality, it all just sums up a really important character for me in Transformers and in fiction of all time. And case in point, I don't think Bumblebee is overrated. I think a lot of people tend to overlook his importance and his significance in the history of cartoons in general. So really, that's all I can ask for in a cartoon hero, and I can honestly say that Bumblebee is one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. Think about it next time you see a bunch of Bumblebee toys on the shelves. Thanks for watching!